Hi guys, thank you so much for being here. In this video we are looking at how to measure your window for your curtains and your draperies. There are two things I need you to consider when you're doing these measurements. One, use a metal tape. The metal tape will stay stiff and give you the measurement that you need. Number two is you're measuring from top to bottom. Go like this. So you take it down. So the measurement that you need will be at the bottom so that you don't have to be looking up for your measurement. Now let's get started by looking at the little diagram, the line diagram I have on the board here. It represents a wall, and that wall has a window just about in the center. Now off to the side here I have CL. CL stands for ceiling line. Down here I have FF. FF stands for finished floor. That makes a difference when you're measuring for your window treatments, because if you're doing a new build and your flooring is not yet finished, then you have to take that into consideration, because your floor could take off another 4 inches or so depending on the type of finish your floor will have. So make sure that you consider that. Now what we have to do here is decide on how far below the ceiling line or how high above the window frame we need the curtains to sit. Take for example, we need the curtains to sit just about 8 inches from the window frame, and we need them to sit off to the side about 4 inches from the frame. Then what we'll do is measure up 8 inches here, measure across 4 inches here. Wherever the line intersects, that is your point A. Now generally we would balance off the measurement on the other side, and that will depend on what's happening on your wall, right? But for this purpose we'll go ahead and say we have another 4 inches over here. We're going up 8 inches, and so where the line intersects over here, it's point B. So we will have a line from point A all the way across to point B. That will be the width of the window treatment. And we're not talking about thinking about fullness or anything like that, because that's another calculation for your fabric. But first we have to get these measurements, right? Now we have our width here. Our length will be from point A. If we're going to the finished floor length curtains, then this would be point C. So we measure from point A all the way down to the finished floor, which is point C, and that will be our length. Now for our curtains and draperies, these are the only two measurements that we have, that we need. They are pretty straightforward, across the top and down, width and length. We are going to use that width that you found and the length to calculate how much fabric you will need to make your curtains. Now fabrics can be different widths, so let's establish the width of the fabric that we will use to make those curtains. And for this purpose, I'm going to go ahead and use a very common width of decor fabric, which is 54 inches. So your fabric is 54 inches. The width of this window is 6 feet. However, to that 6 feet, we will need to add side hems. And if you're making 2 panels, it means that you're going to have 4 side hems. So 4 times 2 equal 8 inches. So we will need to add 8 inches to this 6 feet for our calculation. And what we're doing right now is establishing how many widths of this 54-inch fabric we will need to go across the window. So our overall width is 6 feet 8 inches. Our fabric width is 54 inches. So what we want to do is convert our 6 feet 8 inches into inches across the board, right? There are 12 inches in a foot, which means that we multiply 12 by 6 and we get 2 6s are 12, 2 6 1 6 and 1 72. So 6 12s are 72 plus 8 inches, which is the double hem for the sides. That's going to be 80 inches. Now, not only do we need to put the side hems on the width, but then we need to figure out what fullness we want on our draperies. So your fullness can be single, which means that you won't have much gathers or pleats, or your fullness can be 1.5, 2, 3, and so on, right? Now, a double fullness will give you a decent amount of gathers. So let's just do a double fullness. When you're doing your calculations, if you want to do like a triple fullness, then go ahead and use a triple fullness, which means that you will multiply by 3. Here we are going to multiply by 2 because we are doing a double fullness. So we'll multiply the 80 inches by 2, and that equals 2 8s are 16. That's 160 inches. Now we'll take this 160 inches and we will divide by 54 inches, because remember now we are trying to find out how many 54 inches we'll need to go across the window. So that's 160 divided by 54. Now I could do some long division, but I think I'm just going to grab the calculator and just use the calculator. So that's 160 divided by 54 equals 2.96. 2.96. However, we're talking about widths of fabric, and we can't buy partial widths. We have to buy a full width. So therefore, we'll have to round up this 2.96 widths to 3 widths. So we will need 3 widths of fabric. So now that we have established how many widths of fabric we will need, let's go on and look at our length. Now our length here is 7 feet. Okay, so for our length, we will also need to add increments. And those increments are for the top hem and the bottom hem to finish off the curtain panel, right? Now, generally, I'll suggest that you do a 4-inch double hem. So if we have a 4-inch double hem at the top, and a 4-inch double hem at the bottom, it means that it's going to be 4 times 4, because remember, a double hem has 2 folds, right? I will link a video so you can check out the double hem and the best way to do your double hems when you're doing your curtains. But that's going to be 4 times 4, and 4 fours are 16. So that's 16 inches. Our next step is to add 16 inches to 7 feet. But before we do that, let's go ahead and convert our 7 feet to inches. So there are 12 inches in a foot. Therefore, we have 84 inches. So it's 84 inches plus 16 inches. And that's gonna give us 6 and 4, 10, 8, 1, 9. That's 100 inches. So our overall length is 100 inches. The next step is to multiply this 100 inches, which is from top to bottom here, by 3, because we need 3 widths to go across the window. So that will be 300 inches. So in order for us to find out how many yards of fabric we will need, we will have to divide this 300 inches by 36 inches, because there are 3 feet in a yard and there are 12 inches in a foot, right? So 3 12s are 36. So 300 divided by 36 equals 8.33 yards. But what I like to do is to round up when we're buying fabrics, because we want to make sure that we have enough. So we don't want to cut this 0.33 yards off. That's gonna make us run short on fabric. So let's round up to 8.5. So we will need 8.5 yards of fabric. And you could go ahead and buy 9 yards. So you can get some decorative cushions to go along with your curtains. Now, if you're making draperies, lined curtains are draperies, right? If you are going to line your window treatments, then you need to buy the same amount of lining as your decorative fabric. So I had 2 curtain panels made before. I just didn't finish off the top section of the panels. What I did was use leftover fabric, and so as you can see, this curtain behind me won't do for a full length window, right? It will be more like either a sill length or an apron length, but you cut your panel to the width and the size that you need now. And so yeah, as I said, I am using fabric remnant, and I was able to get 2 panels from the remnant that I had. I just did a 1-inch double hem on the sides. I would suggest that if you're doing with your full material and you want your drape to look more custom, then do a 2-inch double hem, right? I have done a 1-inch, as I said. Do a 2-inch. And at the bottom, I did a 2-inch double hem. Now, if you have a sill length or an apron length curtain, then it's okay to do a 2-inch double hem. Even for a full length curtain, it's still okay to do a 2-inch double hem, but a more custom look would be a 4-inch double hem, right? And so I have the panel all stitched off here. What I'm going to do now is cut a piece from the top, and I did 10 inches for the other one, so that's what I will be doing for this one, because it is a set of curtains, right? So I'll just go ahead and measure off 10 inches. Not there yet, not there yet, not there yet, not there. Yeah, there we go. 10 inches, 10 inches, 10 inches. And I am going to, instead of drawing a line, I'm just gonna use the iron and press in the seam across the top, and that will be my cutting line. Okay, I think that's good enough. There we go. Now I'll go ahead and I will cut across the panel. The next thing I'm going to do is take the smaller piece of fabric here, and I will be doing a 1-inch double hem. So I will go ahead and fold back 2 inches. Okay, I can't find my little measuring gauge. Okay, so that's 2 inches there. Two inches. I'm gonna start press in the seam. Don't be like me. Don't leave your iron on your fabric, right? Because you don't want to burn your fabric. Okay. Yeah. 2 inches, 2 inches, 2 inches. Now, usually what I do is fold the fabric out, then bring it back to the line and press. I'm going to skip the pressing step right now. I'm just going to fold back, fold, and go ahead and stitch. If you want to, you can go ahead and do the second press, but I'm not going to do that right now. And then I stitch my 1-inch double hem seam in. The one thing you want to make sure of is, if you're working with pattern fabric, when you go to add, let's call it your top skirt on the curtain, you want to make sure that your patterns are running in the same direction. I had more thread on my bobbin than I thought. Okay. Next, I am going to take my top skirt here, find a better name for it, guys, and then I am going to put it on the back of the panel here, and I am putting the right side against the left side, and then I am going to go ahead and stitch them together. Ooh, okay, so now I'm going to turn this over, and I am going to press a bit just to reduce the bulk. So I'm just going to press the top section here where I have joined the top skirt to the panel. Now let's turn this around, and I am gonna go ahead and iron or press again, and I am just pressing the top here to make sure that it's all lined up correctly, and when I stitch I am not seeing the back side of the of the curtain panel. Now I am going to put some pins in, just so the fabric does not shift when I am stitching. Now I am going to measure off. Now you are going to make the pocket for your curtain rod depending on the size of the curtain rod, right? I am measuring off 2 inches. Now I am going to take my metal ruler here. It's not a yardstick. It's 48 inches long, so it's not a yardstick. A yardstick is 36 inches long. Okay, let's put this away. Okay, I think I'm gonna unplug the iron, and I'm gonna plug the heater back in. Now, I'm not sure if they're on the same circuit, and so that's why I don't want to use them together, because I don't want to chip the breaker or trip. Okay, and now we are gonna stitch across on the line that we just drew. Now the bobbin is finished, so I have to refill my bobbin, and because I don't have very far to go, I'm just gonna go ahead and fill it by, well, I'm not gonna fill it, I'm just gonna put enough thread on it to finish up what I'm doing here. Okay, let's finish off. other panel. Friends, thank you so much for being here again. If you're here for the first time, please, I appreciate your subscription, your likes, your comments, and your shares. You take care now. I will see you in the next one. Love you guys.